Hey Rivals coaches, Zay Valor here. I wanted to make a video kind of detailing how pushing works in this new patch in 3.1. This is something I've seen some confusion on, and I know that right now it can seem like late game champs are incredibly strong, and getting to the late game is very easy for teams that want to do so. So I wanted to give some tips on how you can win in the mid two, by knowing what your pushes are going to look like. This is something that was a fairly large change, especially in the mid game, where suddenly, if you got the advantage, you didn't just push down one lane and win the game as easily. So I wanted to go over the logic of the tower pushes, and then we can kind of discuss how you can use that to win earlier if you're the aggressor for the fight. That is, you have the earlier spikes and you want to try to avoid late game or make it so that late game you can win even if they get the advantage. So let's go ahead. We're going to go phase by phase through these, and I'm going to explain the logic behind the different pushes. So in order for us to do this, we need to first figure out where our pushes are coming from. While yes, there are plays that push, early push, push, split push, team push, lane swap, things like that, we need to really understand where the most of our pushes are going to come from, and that's actually from our basic plays. So we go down here to where it says adds the following basic plays to game plan. You have aggressive push, aggressive laning, aggressive laning, aggressive laning. This is telling us, hey, you're going to get three laning phases and then a possible push. Now, in 3.0, it used to push first and then would go to laning. 3.1, this has changed a bit, and in fact, the laning phases are actually also pushes. What you're going to get in early 1 is you're going to get one push per lane, assuming that your laner is alive to do so. Additionally, one thing that's unique about the laning plays is that the push only happens if you get a gray bar or better. If you do end up getting a red bar on that laning play, you will not get a push, and instead you will essentially get ganked by your opponent's jungler. So it's very important to at least get a gray bar on here if you want to push. Now, because of how weak the champions are in the beginning compared to the tower's health, it's going to take you at least 2 pushes to bring down a tower. So in the early phase, what you're really looking for from your laning plays is to bring down at least 1 tower. Now, if you have early push or push, you could potentially get up to 2 towers fairly easily, assuming they don't have freeze lane. So if you're looking to win early, you want to get as many towers during these phases as you can. So early push and push in that case are very strong, and we'll go over a little bit more why when we talk about mid phase. You'll also notice here we do have one basic push. Now this is actually a team push, and it'll go on your most pushed lane. The only way you're getting to this push, though, is if there happens to be only 7 or less plays already initiated during the phase. What I mean by that is that you have to get to these plays. Oftentimes, say for instance, you have one play, you're putting one play into queue, either a power play or combo, and so is your opponent. That means, because you're each adding these 4 basic plays, there are now 10 plays in queue. In order to get to one of these, to the aggressive push for your team, you have to have a couple of things. First, you have to at least cancel one of your opponent's plays. That will allow the queue to shift, because there can only be 8 plays per queue, per phase rather. It'll allow the queue to shift and reveal your push, and you have to at least have the same number of champions alive as your opponent. This seems easy, however, it's actually very difficult because, as we know, power plays can combo more than one play with them, so the queue can start to get really stacked up. For instance, if you and your opponent both have power plays that trigger 2 combo plays, that queue goes from, instead of just having 8 in it, to now there are 14 plays. 6 of those plays are not happening, and most likely they are the laning plays and this push. So this push is really awesome. It helps you to win in the mid game, but it's not reliable. So you're really going to want to use your pushing plays such as early push and push to get those other towers down. If you can get 2 towers on a lane down in early, you are well on your way to winning in mid 2. Speaking of mid phase, let's go there real quick. Again, we need to look at our basic plays because these are going to be our primary way to push during this phase, though we do have considerably more options when it comes to pushing power plays and combo plays in the mid game. All right, so you can see here the basic plays they add are a fight monster, which we know is actually just fight dragon, and then you've got a push, split push, and push. Now the split push is kind of a misnomer, it's just another push. But the logic is that each of these pushes is going to a different lane. During the mid game, on these basic plays, you will never push a lane twice using basic plays. So we have to use combo and power plays to push further. Now let's see what this means mathematically. So we go to early, right? Early, we got our laning phases, we got all of our pushes, we push down 1 tower, so all of the tier 1 towers are gone in the lanes. We now have no pushing plays in the mid. We do something like farm. We get all 3 of our pushes. Assuming in mid 1 that each takes a tower, we've now got all their tier 2 towers down. We go to mid 2, we push each lane again, we get their tier 3 towers down. But we have no way to kill their core. So we have to add pushing plays in order for us to get to mid to win in mid 2. Because with just natural pushes, you can only get to tier 3. The tier 3 towers. You'll kill all of them and leave them exposed to core and well on your way to winning, but a lot of teams can still come back from that. So especially if they're later teams. So we need to find a way to kill the core. How we're going to do that is by using any of the pushing plays, lane swap, split push, or team push during the mid. Those plays have to kill at least 1 tower in a lane. Just straight up kill it. If you can do that, if you can have one of those plays kill a tower, you now make it so that that final basic push on that lane is to core instead of a tower, and that's where you can win. So we need to find a way to add those plays to our repertoire. I've found it incredibly impactful that even if you're not trained for it, to have at least 2 to 3 champs that can either split push or team push. Not team push, excuse me, I was going to make a point about that in a second. Split push or lane swap. Those are your 2 most powerful tools when it comes to winning in mid 2. Those 2 plays can do it. Split push because it's often on a late game champ that can just get enough power in mid 2 to kill a tower on their own. And then lane swap because it's not only fast, it also triggers split pushes. So those 2 together are very good at pushing. Now, you'll notice I don't mention team push. Team push right now is a little too slow. If you're able to get an advantage and get it to work, awesome, but it's not as reliable as split push and lane swap that are just faster and tend to have better results, at least from what I've seen. So once you get those done, once you get those, you get at least 1 tower with one of those pushing plays, that's when you can win in mid 2. Now, when it comes to late game, the logic changes again to how it pushes. So this is important, especially if you find yourself not able quite to make it. You got all 3 of the tier 3 towers down, but their core's still up and they're attacking you. So we're going to just go over the logic for the late game real quick. Late game, again, we got 3 pushes. Logic's a bit different. On the basic plays, the first push is going to go towards the most pushed lane. So if you've got your push to tier 3 in top, tier 2 in bot, and tier 2 in mid, it's going to push the tier 3 in top first. The second push is either going to go to bot or mid, because there's the second most pushed. So if you have 2 lanes down to tier 3 and one to tier 2, it's going to push, those first 2 are going on both of the tier 3s. Finally, the last push is again the most pushed lane. What that means is that on the basic plays in late game, the only way to win on pushing with just basic plays, not including team push or fast push, is you have to have them push down to a tier 3 tower in at least one lane. Because what that'll do, your first push will take the tier 3, second push will go to a different lane, third push to core, and then you win. So again, the big takeaways here is that if you want to win in mid 2, you have to have a way to push an extra tower. A combo player power play has to destroy one tower on its own. If it can do that, then you're well on your way to winning in mid 2. It's still difficult. It's still going to take a lot of work in the early game to get as far ahead as possible, but it is possible. So I hope this helps you at least understand where the pushes are coming from, what the logic behind them is, and how you can kind of utilize that to better understand how you can win earlier, or just survive, rather, if you're the late game team, because you'll know where they're going to be pushing. If you have any questions about this or how to build a mid-game winning team, please let me know in the Discord. I'll be happy to help with that. And I hope that this does help you bring out those earlier wins and sneak some tournament wins as well. All right, coaches, I'll see you out there.